Well, then, as promised, it seems there's no end in sight as far as the infighting in the ANC. The party in the northwest insists that Supra Mahumapelo, its former chairperson, remains suspended. But he says he's not threatened by anyone and no one can force him out of the ANC. The former provincial chairperson and premier was found guilty of violating the party's code of conduct. ENCA's Manqoba Mchunu is at a religious gathering, Manqoba, that ended a short time ago, addressed by Mr. Mahumapelo, and he's with you now.
Indeed, Tabegile, the former premier insisting that, in fact, this is a witch hunt against him. Of course, he says that the whole issue of these charges that have been placed against him and the suspension itself is an issue that, of course, is a political one, and he believes that he is going to appeal this matter and he will be successful in appealing this matter. He did use earlier on the analogy of Jesus and the Pharisees in the Bible, saying that those that are behind him, his detractors, so to speak, Tebegile, are like Jesus and the Pharisees in the way that they had wanted to see Jesus go behind bars. It's pretty much the simple or the similar case that he says he is facing currently right now. But I want to speak to him now just to get a sense of what he has to say. Of course, he has been speaking to congregants here at this particular church. He's joining me now, the former premier of the Northwest Province. Premier, if I can just ask you to step this side so that we can speak to you. If you can just come in front of the lens here. Of course, Premier, you are facing, or you have been suspended by the interim provincial committee here in the Northwest, but you're not taking this issue lying down, aren't you?
Every member of the African National Congress has got rights that are enshrined in the constitution of the ANC. So I'm simply exercising my right as a member to appeal a decision of the disciplinary committee of the IPC to take my membership for a period of 5 years. So the appeal has already been done to the National Disciplinary Committee. I have received a confirmation from the Office of the Secretary General to say your appeal has been received and referred to the National Disciplinary Committee. Therefore, according to the Constitution of the ANC, your membership remains intact. I'm using its English, that it remains intact. That is how it works in the African National Congress. Other than that, this case will not fly because we will demonstrate to the National Disciplinary Committee the extent to which the IPC is bent on abusing their powers to settle political scores, but also to stifle debates in the African National Congress. Because who am I when I'm invited by a structure like the Women's League did, say, come and campaign with us? Who am I to say no? Because all of us must respect the structures of the ANC. So when there's an invitee, but now they are going for the invitee. What I did was door to door and address the people there, and the ANC emerged in those particular by-elections. Simple. Instead of the leadership of the IPC saying, Comrade Supra and Comrade Bitsa, we seem to be finding it difficult to comprehend some of your actions in as far as that activity is concerned. Come and enlighten us. We would have gone to explain to them how an autonomous structure, in case, like in this instance, is the ANC Women's League, working within the broader framework of the ANC, how that autonomous structures program was planned, discussed, adopted by their PC, and implemented for the ANC by election. But because they're not interested in political engagement, they're interested in settling scores and pushing people to the periphery, especially myself. Remember, some of these people, the reason why I was applying for their recusal is because they were at the center of the so-called Supra Must Fall campaign. And I've got the evidence which I'm going to contribute to the discussions in the National Disciplinary Committee.
And how far are you willing to take this issue? Earlier on I did hear you speaking about possibly consulting with your lawyers.
The reason why you must never take things for granted in life, no matter how uncomplicated they seem, or no matter how they seem not to be dangerous. But when you work with people who are at the highest levels of political depression, you face a danger. So the reason why we are going to sit down with the lawyers is for them to go through our appeal, so that with their trained minds, they can then look at the ANC Constitution and look at what we are contributing and submitting to the NDC, so that we can stay within the law of the ANC, which is the Constitution.
But one could argue, former Premier, that in fact, speaking to an ANC employee and telling them not to follow processes of the ANC or to act against party wishes, that is tantamount to sowing divisions within the party.
I wish you can read the statement issued by Comrade Khoso Kumar, the mayor of JB Marks. In that gathering of Sarafina in Potch, where I was invited via my branch by Ward 1 in Potchefstroom, Khoso Kumar spoke before me as a mayor there. And he says, there are people who have given him instruction to resign. And he was reporting to the masses that were in that hall that his conscience is very clear, that he has done nothing wrong and therefore he will not resign. So when I spoke after him, I said, Comrade Khoso, if deep down in your conscience you know that you have done nothing wrong, you know you have not flouted the law, you have not stolen money, if I was in your position, I will say the same thing that you are saying, that you will not resign. What's wrong in saying such a thing? I was simply re-emphasizing the point that the mayor was re-emphasizing. Because the ANC is a democratic organization. Even if you are accused of something, the leadership must still have the necessary patience to listen to those that are accused to have committed something that is wrong. Never run out of patience when you run an organization as complex as the African National Congress.
Okay. On the issue of the step aside, of course, this is one of the issues that was, in the news this week, with the Secretary General expected to actually step down this week, but that didn't happen. Would you be advising him to step down?
At Nasrec, I was there as a delegate. I participated in the discussion and the resolution to deal with problems of morality, of ethics, of corruption within the African National Congress, right? The decision of the African National Congress on people having to step aside is not an Ace Magashule step-aside resolution of the NEC. The NEC has looked at the totality of political variables and legal variables within the ANC in the context of the resolution. Now that resolution, you must read it slowly, make sure that we understand it. One of the things it requires is that if you are an accused or you are arrested or you are going through the legal processes, whatever, you need to go present yourself to the structures of the ANC, including the Integrity Committee. It doesn't end there. It says you must give a convincing explanation to the structures of the ANC, right? But where we are standing now in the ANC, we must still say, what is a convincing and what is an unconvincing explanation? When we have done that, we must then say, your explanation is unconvincing. It goes further. It says, when you are giving an unconvincing response, you must then step aside voluntarily. It means your conscience must speak to you. Now, if you are not stepping aside voluntarily, it means you have got reasons not to step aside voluntarily. What it means is that the leadership of the ANC must then say, can we listen to the reasons why you are not stepping aside voluntarily? Because we are a caring organization, we are an organization that builds. Yes. But the resolution doesn't also end there. It says that if you are unconvincing, it means there should have been a convincing response. and you refuse to step aside, you must then be taken through the disciplinary processes of the African National Congress. So it's up to any member, when you are taken through that process, to then say, are you going to step aside voluntarily, or you are going to choose the route of the disciplinary committee, so that you can explain yourself to the DC of the ANC, so that as an independent adjudicator, it can then come to a conclusion whether your position is indeed contrary to the dictates of the ANC or is not contrary to the dictates of the ANC. It means the DC can either find you guilty or it will not find you guilty. However, we need to warn that we have seen that there are concocted charges and accusations by some members throughout the country against other members. Because we differ politically in the organization as a broad church. So the organization needs to guard against a danger and a risk of people who want to settle political scores to then concoct charges, allegations, accusations against the leadership of the ANC, including our opposition. Our opposition can infiltrate the ANC. They can buy people and give people false information and pay them to go and accuse some leaders of the ANC of this and that, so that the ANC can run out of the leadership. You remove everybody. So by the time we open our eyes, the opposition as counter-revolutionary forces, they might have succeeded in weakening the African National Congress. So I'm not saying that we must not support step aside. It depends on an individual, whether you want to do it voluntarily or you don't want to do it voluntarily. But I also said, the leadership has got the responsibility to look at some aspects of the resolution, including the decision, whether it's not in contradiction of the law of the Republic.
Okay, thank you, Bob. That was the former Premier of the Northwest, Supra Mahumapelo, speaking to us there. And of course, he says that this is a matter that he is going to challenge. And we do know that he has now written to the Secretary General to actually show that he is going to actually appeal this particular matter. And that we do understand happened last week. But so far, we do understand that it will be appealing this particular matter to Bill.
Manqoba, thank you very much for that. That's ANC reporter Manqoba Mchunu speaking with the suspended former Northwest Premier as well as ANC chairperson Supra Mahumapelo tonight in Matibestad in the Northwest.